Hello, hello, everybody. I'm Adrian Branch. Welcome to The Climb. I'm your host, and this show is one about resilience. We want to celebrate the achievements and the mindsets of people, men and women, of how they overcome potholes and obstacles. What's their challenge? What's their mindset? The Climb is about celebrating overcoming, exploring stories of faith, character, perseverance. And also, when you think about it, everyone has a climb, a mountain to climb. And if you don't quit, you're an overcomer. And we're an overcomer. So let's do this together. Well, today's guest is someone I've known a long time, and he's an All-American good guy. He was an All-American basketball player at Loyola, Baltimore University. He was also an NBA player for the Phoenix Suns and Washington Bullets. And he's also been, oh my goodness, a coach and so many distinctives. But I want to jump right into it. I don't want to leave any meat off the bones. We want to introduce you to our guest, Coach Mike Morrison. Coach, welcome to the show, sir.
Man, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I went back and watched episodes, man. I was like, man, this dude he's doing it big, and he kind of forgot about his little lifelong friend. I know I was younger than you growing up, but I looked up to you and admired you, and it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, Mike, you are perfect for The Climb because this show is all about resilience and celebrating people's resilience. And I want to jump right into it because, yes, you're a decorated motivational speaker and a coach at the highest level that's influenced some of today's top NBA players. I've seen you in action when you were coaching the top Nike 100, people like Jalen Brunson. But let's take it back to a time when you were about, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, and you had difficulty learning. You could learn, but you just learned differently because you were dealing with dyslexia and went to a wonderful school called Riverdale Baptist. Take us back to that in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah. Interesting time. I was coming into my own as an athlete, playing multiple sports, basketball, football. Football was my first love. Started running track. But unfortunately, I was having some issues in the classroom and, some behavioral issues that were caused by people making fun of me because when I would read out loud, I would mispronounce words or skip over words. And so right around the sixth grade, my mom had me tested. And, back then they didn't have the ADHD diagnosis or the ADD diagnosis. They were discovering things like that. And so right around the seventh grade, when I really started having issues in middle school, they wanted to keep me back or have me repeat the seventh grade in summer school. And so after I did that, my mom and dad got another test done, and they found out that I needed some real dedicated professional help. And Riverdale Baptist has started a program called Talent Development. And they worked on a PACE program, which was basically you took an entry test to diagnose or to find out what level you were learning at. And this PACE program would help you get up to your current or needed grade level. So when I took that test as a rising eighth grader, I scored proficient, and I was as low as a third and fourth grader in some areas.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I had to kind of regress to progress, to go back and kind of learn the way that I learned to catch myself up to being at par or being ready for high school. And so grateful for John Hockenberry and Mr. Clark and Mr. Hutchison, the guys that ran the program, and for their dedication and time and that program that really helped me become the student athlete that I became later in life.
Yeah, Mike, let's go back to that for a second. I love that one. I'm taking notes. When you speak, I listen. So when coach is talking, man, put a pen and paper to it. Regress to progress. I like that. So I once heard you say you could learn, but you just had to learn differently. So in the classroom, you had to just listen by recording tape and then go home and tape it. So how was that process individually as a young teenager, you're starting to grow, you're starting to get size and push through people making fun of you. That was a lot of things, but I like that regress to progress.
Yeah. So the regression part, I wasn't made to feel like I was behind. They just said you needed to do some extra work to get caught up, but we're going to let you work at a pace that's comfortable for you. So one of the things with dyslexia is the rearranging or helping your brain to slow down and actually read the words that's in front of you, not the one down the page.
Give us an
So I,
example. Give us an example, if you could.
okay, so if I'm reading Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss book, I had an index card that had a window on it, and the window had a little slide depending on the length of it, and I would use that index card to read sentences, and it would only let me see the word that was in that box. So I learned to read, and I would have to take it would take me longer to comprehend and read things than others, and I had to do some different exercises to train my brain to only focus on one word at a time. Because basically, modern day diagnosis is dyslexic people's brains work faster than their eyes can conceive. So I would try to skim ahead as opposed to paying attention to what was immediately in front of me. So the regression part was, yep, I might have been doing third and fourth grade work in English and in some of my social studies and math classes, but in the other classes like history and geography and things like that, I was on pace. But because I didn't comprehend things as quickly, uh, I had to have more time with my tests, and I had to have someone read it to me because I could learn audibly better than just me
Yes.
reading it to myself. There were times where coach would let me go into another room and I could read out loud to myself, and if I could hear it, I could receive it differently. So with the tapes, you got a little ahead of the subject. I didn't start using recordings until I got to college. So when I got to college, I would use a tape recorder to tape my professor's lessons or my professor's lessons, lectures, and then go back with my tutor, listen to the lecture, take notes on it, compare it to the notes that I tried to take in class, and fill in the things that I missed. So it was two ways in which it helped me retain the information.
Let me stop you there because as I'm hearing the story and celebrating your story, it's a twofold track. So, one, you're learning, and this show is all about the climb. So, for my climbers out there, listen to Coach Mike. He was diagnosed as dyslexia, but he didn't stay there because, as I wrote this down, there was a regress to progress and really to train the brain to adjust the cells. Okay, so you're battling to stay on point with your academics, and yet all of a sudden, you've got talent that you don't even know as a basketball player because you would be considered a late bloomer. I'll put myself in for a second. So at the same stage as ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grader, I was considered a can't miss. For yourself, you were like a Michael Jordan where you came off the bench as a late bloomer. And by the time you got to college, you really worked on and became a star. But tell us about that part too. When you were a basketball player, they didn't think you could do the work academically to even get to Loyola, where you became a second round draft pick. Tell us about that.
Right, right. So John Hockenberry, my principal at Riverdale Baptist at the time, he said, "Listen, son, don't put all your eggs in that basket. It's going to be very difficult with you to get back into normal classes, and the path that you're on, you're probably going to graduate with a certificate at best. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket. And then plus, at that time, my size, I didn't grow. I grew 4.5 inches, maybe 5 inches in college. I left high school at 5'10", maybe 5'10 and a half. So I didn't look like I was going to be the 6'3 and a half, 6'4" athlete that I became. So he was right to say that, but he lit a fire in me because when he told me that, he also told me that I couldn't play sports at Riverdale until I got my grades up, which accelerated my ability to understand and comprehend because you were taking away something that I really love. And it wasn't done mean or malicious. It wasn't told that, I would never amount to much. He just didn't want me to get my hopes up or put all my eggs in the athletic basket when he knew that athletics would only be possible if I could get the academics together. So fast forwarding, I got to Northwestern. You know how talented we were there. Me and my teammate were talking earlier, Charles Payne, and he reminded me that my junior year, there were only 4 underclassmen on our team.
Man.
Clinton Biddleman was a freshman who ended up going on to play at Allegheny and then at Bowling Green of Ohio. David Gregg, who played at Maryland, was a McDonald's All-American, Capital Classic selection.
6'11", left-handed, Chris Bosh
11,
type. Mm-hmm.
so smooth with the jump shot. Um, Another guy named Julius Johnson, who ended up going back to North Carolina for his senior year because he didn't think he'd play at Northwestern. And then myself. And again, I'm playing behind Darren Satterwhite, Charles Payne, Mike Lofty, uh, uh, Chris Minot. We had a talented group. Out of those 11 seniors, I think 6 of them went on to play college basketball. So I was in a rock and hard place. And then my senior year, transfer in was another Capital Classic selection, McDonald's All-American, Villanova commit Brian
Brian
Tucker.
Tucker, 6'11".
That's right. So we had 2 bookends at 6'11". I think our squad was bigger than Maryland's squad.
And your school is right across the street from the University of Maryland, for the listeners.
Right. So, again, I was overshadowed, overlooked, but God put inside of me something of determination and ability because of the struggles I had in the classroom. And I continued to work, and I believed that I had some talents that if I kept working would eventually come to the surface. So I get to Loyola. As a freshman, I'm struggling academically. My tutor suggested that I get the tapes and record the lectures so we could go down and break them down and get my stuff, get all my notes so that those notes would be transferable into me being able to comprehend, regurgitate them on tests, and things began to fall into place. My head coach, Mark Amatucci, just really cared about me more than just as a basketball player. He saw my talent, but his thing was he wanted to make sure I was a first-generation graduate from Loyola College. And so he worked real hard. He had tutors in place. And I'm proud to say none of my tutors ever did an inch of work for me. They were ladies who were former teachers, high school teachers, and they were not accepting no for an answer. If I didn't do it then, they would help me through it, but I was going to do it. And they were going to make sure that I did it so that I could feel this of overcoming something that people said was going to be hard for me. So Mr. Hockenberry's words about me not being able to put my eggs in that basket and then having people to help me along the way, it made the climb not easy, but it made it doable.
Let's go. The climb. Let's go. Yes.
So, as a sophomore, as a freshman, I played sparingly, but as a sophomore, I earned a starting spot. We graduated 6 seniors. And then as a junior, man, that summer between my sophomore year and my junior year, I think I grew 4 inches. And the rest is just, history, man. I, still top 4, top 5 all time in a lot of records at Loyola. Was the first player ever selected in the modern day NBA draft. We had a draft pick about 8 years ago, not even 8 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. The young man that came over from Serbia that now plays with the Sacramento Kings. He was the second, but, Hall of Famer in Loyola, Hall of Famer at the MAC. And then I was able to play with 5 NBA teams over those 4 years. And you and I were able to link up overseas and play together in Australia, one of the 6 continents that we had a chance to play in. So,
Philippines, Turkey.
County, born and raised in Northeast Washington, D.C. Who would have ever thunk it, AB? I mean, look at us, man. We have traveled the globe being paid for a talent that a lot of people take for granted some days.
Well, I'm so proud of you, and I'll say it again. Mike Morrison in True Confession, guys, actually the Lord used Mike to lead me to a personal relationship with God through Jesus when we were in Australia. And he had the most worn out Bible I've ever seen in my life. It was red and green and yellow. And I didn't know you could write in Bibles, but Mike was such an influence, and we were able to be motivational speakers together, encouraging people. And I'm so doggone proud of this guy. And he hadn't stopped. Guys, if you're listening to his story, he's telling you that he had to learn differently, dyslexia, but he pushed through. Even one of the administrators who he believed in said, don't put your eggs in all that one basket, but he still had a drive or inner drive. And then as a pro athlete, I'll give you a picture reference. Mike had one of the prettiest jump shots I've ever seen. It was two people in my book. Dennis Scott, 3D that you see on the NBA announcing, and Mike Morrison had the most beautiful jump shot, soft release, follow through. And that Joker made a lot of them. He made more than he missed. But Mike, tell us about what you're doing now because you were a fantastic player, but an even better coach. And I've seen you on the Nike. I was able to learn from you at the highest level with Nike, St. Louis, and Nike in the Peach Jam. Tell us about what you were doing and how you were able to inspire the next generation.
Oh, you left out Rancho Cucamonga up there in California when you came out to
Whoa.
play sport.
Yes. Yes.
That
Gary,
was Kobe's last time showing up and speaking to our young
whoa. Yes.
years.
Yes.
But, God rest
Yes.
Kobe. Um,
Goodness.
Again,
Wow.
fortunate because of the relationships we built growing up. Howard White being one of the CFOs, chief operators for Jordan Brand, and John Lucas, a guy I competed against when he was with Houston. But him and my dad played tennis together when he was at the University of Maryland. So, it's just layers on layers of how these relationships just kind of coincide and work. But now I'm the assistant coach at Landon University in Greenwood, South Carolina. Um, where our men's team just played for the national championship. We've got a women's program that's growing and climbing. And, I've been fortunate, man, to be involved in basketball at every level,
That's
middle
right.
school coach, high school coach, again, contract worker with Nike. I never was an employee of Nike, but, favor, opportunity gave me a chance to work as a contract worker for some of their skills academies, started with the EYBL, then into LeBron Skills Academy, Amari Stoudemire's,
Tell
Vince
us some
Carter.
names. You just dropped those names. Give us for the listener out there, Mike, because
Yeah.
you're real humble. Tell them some of the people you work with or ran the camps for. Give us some names real quick.
Oh my God. I mean, working with Darren Williams, and God, we're praying for him right now that he overcomes some of his health issues that he's having. But Darren Williams, some people call him Deron,
Hmm.
working alongside Vince Carter and Amari Stoudemire, working Kevin Durant's skill academies, both the ones in Chicago and the one we did
Chris
back
Paul.
in Chris Paul's skills academies. Then LeBron,
Let me ask you, what
yeah.
did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about these great basketball minds? So, what did you learn being around the best of the best?
The interesting thing is we all share something in common, and that's love for people, not just the game and the relationships. Like, here these guys are mega stars, and they've got all these people requiring something. Here we are sitting in the lobby after camp, just talking shop, getting their workouts early, talking about free throws, talking about touch, talking about the minor details that a lot of athletes today kind of skip over because everybody's looking for the highlight. But what gives these young men and what gives Chris Paul and what gave um, uh, Vince Carter and
Sure.
what's given LeBron James a longevity is their love and respect for the game of those people that came before. I get it. We live in a society where everything's microwavable and we want stuff quick and we only want 30-second clips. But LeBron was a guy that listened, man. He was sick. I mean, you got guys in the camp with like Jay Billis, Craig Elo, um, I'm sorry, Rasheed Wallace, Corey Alexander, Junior Rose. You got him
John
sitting there.
Lucas, the great John Lucas.
But you got him. You got Todd Day. You got just guys that got different experiences, and LeBron just sitting there taking it all in,
My
not
goodness.
an expert or not acting like you know the person that society makes him to be now, but just really listening to the conversation, asking questions, absorbing the details of it, and then moving on. And him, coming and playing with the kids, spending time with them, talking about minor details, kind of like what you saw with Kobe and Michael. You know, the media pits Jordan and LeBron against each other because they want to label somebody the greatest, but both of these men, the eras where they played, dominated the game at some level. So we want to give credence and we want to give credit, like the Bible says, give honor to whom honors due, and both of them deserve honor for affecting the game of basketball in a way that you know just changed the game, how we know it, and as it grows and as it continues to evolve. I'm so fortunate and blessed to have an opportunity to be involved in it now on the women's side, but still, the game that we love and has done so much to provide opportunities for you and I to have relationships that have been, lifelong.
It's interesting. I want to go back because you've spoken to at least a 500,000 people. We've both been privileged to go shoulder to shoulder telling our story. But then, even in your personal life, you practice what you preach because you were a single dad growing up your awesome daughter, Joanna Joy, and you were a single dad for many, many years. And then a proud graduate of Nick, who just graduated, but for what, the first 7 to 12 years of your life, you didn't even know you had a wonderful son. Tell us a little bit about that. Now you're blessed with 4 children and a baby as well. So tell us a little bit about the family and how you celebrate that, because you practice what
Oh,
you preach.
yeah. Well, we've got 12 hours and Johanna will be 32 years old.
My
So
goodness.
I'm just, again, honored and blessed to have been able to um, be chosen as her father. Um, as you know, we adopted her when we were playing in Australia
Yeah. And my
together.
daughter was born in Australia. So you've been an
That's right.
uncle. I've been an uncle. We all connected here. Let's go.
That's right. That's
Huh?
right. And, life happens and things change. And my first wife and I, we didn't work out, but we got a beautiful adopted daughter out of it. And then my current wife, I was able to marry in early 2008. Now we've been married almost 19 years.
Come on,
Um,
brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And little
appreciate
KK,
that.
who's a graduate, she just
Yeah,
graduated.
she'll
Michaela,
be graduating in May 19th, May 16th, May 19th, May 19th.
just be there.
Um,
Just be ready by the 15th. You're good. Just be
okay.
ready by the 15th.
Well, yeah, man. Again, man, the having such a strong family and a community. You know, you've been through all the ups and the downs with me, and having good people in my life that I can come to and talk through situations. Community is just so important, and having that type of community that never accepted excuses, that constantly said, "Hey, this may be tough right now, buddy. You got to get back on your feet." Because not only do you have mouths to feed, but they're looking at you. They're looking at you to be an example. So if you give up during these struggles, it's not going to be a good look. And so thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your constant calls and checks. And, now as I sit here as a grandfather of one, father of four, my wife had a daughter when we got married. I had Johanna. And then I find out, several years later that I had a son who
Yeah.
just graduated from the University of South Carolina. And he was a photographer for Michaela's graduation pictures. And
My goodness.
it's just a beautiful thing. You're the girl dad like I'm the girl dad. You got got 3 daughters and a son. So, Lord's been good, man. He's really blessed me. I got a wife that supports me in the things I do, and she really works really hard to keep our family going when I'm out on the road traveling and recruiting. And again, it's just more than I deserve, and I constantly just thank God daily for this gift of life that He's given.
For our listeners out there, I hope you run this program back because Coach Mike is talking about, hey, it's not perfect. It's not a crime if you fall down, get back up. He met his son. His son is a beautiful young man. He just graduated and was taking photos of his sister's graduation. And Coach Mike, through the Lord, has been the glue that keeps that together. Tell us about you being the co-founder for GYU, Gap Year Unveiled. Boy, I know that's going to be good. Tell us about that.
So we literally just launched this nonprofit. We got our 501(c) back in September. So we'll be having a collective event this summer, hopefully. Myself and Monique Epps are the founders. I'm the co-founder. She's a founder. Cedric Bonner is another original board member or helped found it as well. And the concept is helping athletes during the transition away or after sports. Maybe they'll be going into a different field. Maybe they'll be continuing in the sport, but maybe no longer as a player. With the climate and the culture of sports the way it is, and so many people transfer, with not having that background and that um, not having the support once they get finished playing because maybe they weren't at that school for 4 years, we become a resource to help them with mentors, with counseling, with career development facilitations and discoverment. But our true goal is to help these young people transition and understand that you are always more than an athlete. Athletics defines so many of us for way too long because we put it in the wrong place in our lives. And understanding who God created us to be and how we can use the talents and the gifts but not be used by them to the detriment of our mental health and our spiritual development. It's important that there are people around these young people that have experienced some of the similar things but also have access and resources to people that can relate or can lead them in a different direction to help them further their career and live the latter years better than their former.
You know, it's interesting. I just wrote down something again where you just said, use your gifts, don't let your gifts use you. And I think it was a defining moment when you were really trying to uh, work on your identity and push through your frustration. Go back to when you were at Riverdale Baptist and you said there was a speaker that came in that changed your life and it talked about choices, who you're going to
Yeah,
serve.
yeah. So the at Riverdale Baptist it was a Christian school, and it was a part of Riverdale Baptist Church. And every Tuesday we had chapel. So this Tuesday was a guy by the name of Andy Kaufman. It's so interesting because if you guys are Christian music lovers, there was a guy that went to my school, him and his sister, the Tate family. Michael Tate, who was part of DC Talk. I'm taking you way back now. He was one of my classmates. He was one of the students at Riverdale Baptist. But anyway, this Sunday, him and his sister would always sing for chapel, and just anointed singers, just angelic voices. But Andy Kaufman gave us a message that Tuesday, and one of the things he said, God puts before you a choice of life and death, and says, "Choose ye this day whom you will serve. Will it be God or will it be man?" And then he ended the script. He ended the thing with, if you confess me before man, I'll confess you before your Father. And he just gave us an invitation. Who wants to choose to confess God before your classmates today? And without hesitation, the Lord drew me and I stood up and I walked up front, gave my life to Christ. And it was so amazing, Adrian, because from that day forward, the dyslexia and the comprehension issues weren't as bad. Now, of course, there were things that I still had to go through. I had to take the help that I was getting. But how can you explain within a 2 years time? I left there as a ninth grade. I went there from the eighth and ninth grade. From the 10th grade to the time I graduated, I never missed a day of school at Northwestern. And I was a principal's honor roll student for the rest of my time there. In order to
Nice.
get a scholarship to Loyola, they told me I had to get a 3.1 or better. I did that all 4 semesters, all 4 quarters. And then I was given an opportunity to go and take summer school classes. And another true statement, AB, I didn't sign my letter of intent to Loyola until August.
Oh,
Had I not finished those, I would have had to go to a junior college. And most kids wouldn't take that risk. They'd just choose the lesser. But I don't know. I just like to say that, only the Spirit of God did what he did for me. And I'm so grateful that I followed him and allowed him to lead me. But that message that Andy gave me that day changed my life. And it changed my family's because as soon as I gave my life to the Lord, I ran home to call my mom. She rededicated her life to the Lord. My dad did. And here's a family that, enjoyed life. And we made a lot of life changes as a family. And my mom is 89 now. My dad is 88. I'm just so blessed to still have them in my life right
oh my goodness. For our climbers out there, Mike, you're saying so much that as soon as you said when you gave your heart to Jesus, I'm thinking about the Bible verse that says, "Don't be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And it sounds like literally your mind was shifting for the positive, though you still had to work. This is one of my favorite segments of this entire show. And this is my little speed round. So I want to
Okay.
ask you a couple questions, if that's okay,
Go ahead.
and see what's one of the first things that come to your mind when we speak. So you ready?
I'm ready.
And take a shot on this one. All right, here we go. Success,
Family,
failure,
stepping stones,
basketball,
purpose,
dyslexia,
not life threatening.
someone saying no,
One step closer to the next yes.
accountability,
Required.
NBA.
Fantastic. I stole that one. The
We'll
dream
go.
coach.
We'll go with
Dream.
that one. We're gonna stop it right there. Hey, Mike. Before we let you go, the listeners out there, I hope for the Michael out there, the Michelle out there, dyslexia, or if you're dealing with a challenge, it's not the end of the road. It may be a pothole or obstacle, but you're hearing Coach Mike and he's saying, "Don't quit." Coach, before we let you go, what's one thing you would say to our listeners to encourage them to keep climbing?
I have a tattoo on my arm that's Philippians 4:13 that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When I first got it, I got it because of the things I wanted. But the thing that we all need more than anything else is the ability to know that we can overcome things with help. There's nothing that we can overcome on our own. And the greatest help we can have is that from our Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ. There's no other help. There's no other truth. There's no other way besides Him. Many things in this world will try to emulate Him, and in many things will try to impersonate Him. But there's nothing like I'm a living witness. I'm a living testimony. And I pray that my life is a living sacrifice to what He can do. Um, I wouldn't be having this conversation with Adrian. It would be totally different had Christ not intervened and provided for me the answers to those things that I didn't know that I could do. And again, it didn't excuse me from going through them, but I'm so glad that I didn't give up when things around me told me that I should. So you
Man,
can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, but just remember those things are persevering, enduring, and overcoming those life issues and stuff.
you touched my heart here. I'm ready to cry, but we're on on camera right now. You touched my heart here. That is so believable, man. Thanks for coming on our show. We'll have to do this again, Coach Mike.
Man, anytime, man. Thank you so much, man. And thanks, Boo. I know you're in the background, man. Thanks for keeping Pop straight. See
we
you, nephew.
we will
Great job.
see you again with Coach Mike, folks. That is wonderful. I hope for our listeners out there, you've been inspired today because there were so many touchdowns points that he was saying with being a guy that just doesn't quit. He knows he has challenges, but Christ made a difference in his life. And now I want to encourage everybody, if you guys really enjoyed today and want to know more about what we're doing in a champion's mindset, head on over to adrianbranchspeaks.com. Follow us on social media at Adrian Branch Speaks, where we have workshops and other information that can really encourage you. And download The Climb wherever podcasts are available. Listen, my audience, you guys are the best. We never get tired of doing this. And like we like to say around here, remember, be encouraged and keep climbing. We'll see you next time, everybody.